Have you ever, looked at a wine list and seen Mourvèdre and then maybe later Monastrell and thought, hang on, are these related?
Ah, yeah, that's where it gets fun.
Right. Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're really getting into this grape, this fascinating variety, which, get this, also goes by Mataró sometimes.
It does. We've pulled together quite a bit of info really digging into it.
Yeah, looked at different sources to
Yeah.
understand, the vine itself, how the place it grows changes it, the winemaking, all that stuff.
And what's really cool about it right away is how it adapts. It thrives in so many places.
Totally.
And those different names, it's not just like a local preference. It hints at its history, how different places really adopted it.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to unpack how one grape can give you such different wines. It really depends on the soil, the sun, the winemaker.
Exactly. And for you listening, our goal today is simple. Cut through any confusion, give you the need to know on Monastrell.
Yeah, the key stuff.
Its characteristics, where it came from, how terroir shapes it, the different styles, and, where it fits in the wine world now.
Think of it as the shortcut. All the good stuff, the aha moments, without wading through textbooks.
So let's start right there with the names. Monastrell, Mourvèdre, Mataró. It sounds like three different things. What's the deal?
Well, Monastrell is largely seen as the original, the Spanish name, mainly. Spain's likely where it started.
Okay.
Then as it moved, like into France, the Rhône, Provence, it picked up the name Mourvèdre.
Right, Mourvèdre in France.
And then across the water, New World spots, Australia, some U.S. areas, you'll often see Mataró.
So knowing those names is kind of like having a key, isn't it?
It really is. It unlocks things. You see a Mataró from Australia, a Mourvèdre from Bandol, a Monastrell from Jumilla. You realize, it's that same grape, just showing different faces.
It tells a story, like you said, how different cultures took it in.
Precisely. And beyond the names, what's really striking is just how much you can do with it in the winery, its versatility.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's not just one trick. You get these really deep, concentrated reds. Single varietal. Can age for ages.
Mm-hmm. Powerful stuff.
But then it's also crucial in blends. Think Châteauneuf-du-Pape.
Mm.
It brings the backbone, the spice.
Yeah, that structure, deep color too.
And then rosés. Not just pale, simple things like from Bandol. They have real character, structure.
Definitely aromatic, textured rosés.
And you even find it in some fortified wines, which is amazing.
Well, it makes sense, right? Those thick skins, lots of phenolics, that's the building block. Winemakers can steer it in different directions.
Right. Yeah.
And it gets ripe, accumulates sugar well, which helps for fortified styles too. Okay, so let's rewind a bit. History. Where did it actually come from? The sources point strongly towards Spain, Iberia.
Yeah, that's the main thinking. Native to the Iberian Peninsula,
Mm.
probably Catalonia, or maybe Valencia. It's been there forever, basically. Grown in those warm, dry conditions for centuries.
It's really proven itself there. And from Spain, it's sort of spread out across the Mediterranean.
Makes sense. Along the trade routes.
Likely, yeah. Ancient maritime trade. And think about it. A grape that gives good color, good structure,
Okay.
that would have been valuable back then. Easy to ship, held up well.
Good point. And then later it went global.
Mm-hmm.
Australia, you mentioned Mataró there. Places like Barossa, McLaren Vale,
Yeah.
warm spots.
Yep. Great as a standalone wine there, or in those GSM blends, Grenache, Shiraz, Mataró.
Delicious blends. And the U.S. too. California, Washington.
Seeing more of it there too, yeah. Mourvèdre, sometimes Mataró, again, tends to be in the warmer areas where it can really soak up the sun and ripen properly.
It just loves the heat, doesn't it? Which brings us nicely to terroir.
Exactly, because it grows in different places, but where it grows makes such a difference.
Right. I mean, its superpower seems to be handling heat and drought.
It's remarkably good at it.
Almost like it was designed for sunny climates.
Mm-hmm.
Those deep roots must be key, reaching down for water.
Absolutely. Helps it survive dry spells. And it needs that long, warm season to get fully ripe, develop all those complex flavors and tannins.
And the soil type beneath those roots matters too, right? The sources mentioned a few key ones.
Definitely. Soil makes a huge difference. What did they highlight?
Well, calcareous, that's chalky stuff, and clay limestone soils, they seem to give structure, minerality, make the wines age-worthy, give them backbone.
Okay, structure and aging potential from chalk and limestone makes sense.
Then sandy soils seem to lead to lighter wines, more aromatic, softer tannins, easier drinking when young, maybe.
Right, sand often means better drainage, maybe less intensity, but more perfume.
And rocky schist soils can give a specific kind of minerality. And interestingly, coarse soils, they actually seem to help. stress the vine a bit.
Yeah, that's common. A little stress forces the vine to focus energy on the grapes, leading to more concentration, more intense flavors.
And you can almost map these soils to the regions, can't you?
You really can. It's fascinating how it lines up.
Like in Spain, Jamila, Yecla, Alicante, Bules, lots of that limestone and clay. And the wines are, well, potent, fruity, powerful, very Spanish.
Very characteristic of those regions.
Then France, the Rhone, Provence,
Yeah.
similar soils, that Mediterranean heat. You get the structure in the Rhone blends, and then Bendole's powerful reds and those amazing rosés.
Bengal's sort of the benchmark for a Mourvèdre, especially the reds and rosés.
And the New World, Australia, the U.S., with varied soils, you're seeing all sorts of expressions. Rich single varietals, those GSMs. It's really showing how it adapts.
It's like the grape is translating the place, you know?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, translating the land. Okay, so let's look at the vine itself. What does it actually look like? The ampelography.
Okay, so picture the vine. The leaves are usually medium to large, kind of five-sided, pentagonal.
Oh, yeah. Any reason?
Some think it might help reduce water loss in the heat, but who knows for sure. The grape bunches, medium size, usually cone-shaped, maybe pyramidal, can be fairly compact.
And the grapes.
Medium berries, round, they get really dark, blue-black when ripe, and crucially, thick skins.
Ah, thick skins. That means cannons, color.
Exactly, rich in phenolics. And they get pretty high sugar levels too when fully ripe.
And what about its growing cycle? Is it early, late?
It's late, definitely a late cycle grape. It buds late in spring, which is actually less risk from late frosts.
Learn.
And then it ripens slowly over a long period. Needs that time on the vine to build complexity, needs the heat late into the season.
So how does all that, the vine's habits, the thick skins, the late ripening, affect how you manage it in the vineyard?
Well, it can be vigorous, grow a lot of leaves, so you need careful pruning to balance that growth with fruit quality. Get the energy going to the grapes.
Makes sense. What about training? How do they shape the vines?
You see different things. Traditional bush vines, especially in hot, dry Spain, they offer some natural shade. But also modern systems like cordon training or guillo, depending on the climate, the setup, helps with airflow, sun exposure.
And yield control. Fewer grapes per vine for better quality?
Standard practice for quality wine, yeah. Controlling the yield helps concentrate everything: flavor, tannins, complexity in the grapes you do harvest.
Are there specific problems growers face with Monastrell? Challenges.
Well, the heat and drought, obviously. Managing water is key. The late ripening means you're gambling on good weather late in the season.
Right. Need that sun.
It can also be prone to powdery mildew, which is a fungal thing. And if it gets humid, especially with those sometimes tight bunches, bunch rot can be an issue. Needs good airflow.
So careful vineyard work is essential.
Absolutely. Very thoughtful management. Okay, so the grapes are picked. They get to the winery. How do they turn into wine? Let's talk red first.
Okay, reds. Generally, you destem, crush the grapes, then maceration, letting the juice sit with the skins.
How long for that? Varies.
Big time. Shorter for rosé, obviously just a bit of color. Much longer for those serious reds you want to age. You want to extract lots of color, tannin, flavor. They'll often do pump overs or punch downs during this time.
To mix it all up, get good contact.
Exactly. Then alcoholic fermentation, usually temperature controlled, and after that, often malolactic fermentation.
Mallow, yeah.
Yeah.
Softens the acidity. Standard for most reds.
And what about oak? Does Monastrell see much oak?
Oh, yeah. Oak aging is pretty common, especially for the more serious styles. It adds structure, definitely. And those flavors: toast, vanilla, spice.
Does it help with the tannins, too? Monastrell can have pretty firm tannins, right?
It does. The slow oxygen exposure through the oak barrel's microoxygenation helps soften and integrate those tannins over time, makes the wine smoother.
And winemakers can choose different oak types. French, American, toast levels.
All those choices impact the final wine, yeah. French oak might give more subtle spice, American more vanilla or coconut. Different toast levels bring out different flavors, lots of levers to pull.
So how do these decisions lead to the different styles? Young versus aged reds, rosé?
Well, the young, fruity reds often see little or no oak. The goal there is freshness, black fruit, floral notes, soft tannins, drink now kind of style.
Approachable.
Exactly. Then the full-bodied reds meant for aging. Longer time on skins, definitely time in oak, often new oak. That builds the deep color, the firm structure, the complex aromas that evolve: dark fruit, spice, then maybe leather, earthy notes as it ages.
Got it. And the rosés?
Short skin contact, just enough for that nice intense pink color. Then fermented cool, usually in stainless steel, to keep the fresh red fruit aromas, strawberry, raspberry maybe, and that crisp acidity. But they still often have a bit more body or structure than some other rosés.
And fortified, how does that work?
For fortified Monastrell, they add grape spirit during fermentation. That stops the fermentation, leaves residual sugar, boosts the alcohol. You get a wine with good body, concentrated dark fruit, sweet spice, can develop nutty caramel notes if aged.
Wow, so the winemaker's role is huge, guiding it from vineyard to bottle, aiming for quality for typicity.
Absolutely critical, making those calls all along the way. Okay, let's move into the glass. What does Monastrell typically taste and smell like? Sensory profile.
Okay, nose first. You often get dark fruits, think blackberry, plum. Spices are common too, black pepper, maybe clove.
That spicy note is quite characteristic.
Yeah, and depending on the wine, you might get earthy notes, sometimes described as slightly gamey or animal.
Especially with age.
Right, those savory complexities. And as it gets older, leather tobacco can come through. Plus, if it's been oaked, you'll likely smell that too. Toast, vanilla.
A lot going on aromatically. What about tasting it? On the palate.
Generally dry, full-bodied. Those tannins we talked about will be noticeable, especially when young, but they should soften with age. Acidity is usually moderate enough to keep it fresh but not sharp.
So balanced.
Ideally, yeah. Balancing the fruit, the tannin, the alcohol, the acidity. The flavors often mirror the aroma's dark fruit, spice, and usually a pretty long finish. It lingers.
Okay, so with that kind of profile, full body, tannins, spice, what foods does it work well with?
Oh, this is a great food wine, especially the reds. Perfect with robust flavors. Red meats are a classic pairing.
Grilled, roasted.
Well, grilled steaks, roast lamb, hearty stews, game meats. It handles them beautifully.
Because of the structure and tannins.
Exactly. Cuts through the richness. And those spicy notes in the wine work well with spicy food, too. Not necessarily chili hot, but dishes with herbs, black pepper. Mediterranean food is a natural fit. Maybe even mild curries or chili con carne.
Interesting. What about cheese?
Oh, definitely. Strong cheeses. Aged manchego from Spain, obviously. Aged sheep or goat cheeses. Even something punchy like a blue cheese could be great. The saltiness contrasts with the fruit.
Nice. Anything else?
Yeah, a richer rice dishes like a paella with meat, grilled vegetables with some char, cured meats like Spanish ham. Lots of options.
And the rosés, what pairs well there? They're a bit different.
For sure. The rosés are lighter, brighter. Think lighter rice dishes, maybe seafood paella, pasta with tomato or creamy sauces, grilled fish, salads, even some mildly spicy Asian food could work well. They're quite versatile in a different way.
Good range. Any tips for actually tasting these wines? Serving temperature, glasses?
Yeah, good point. Reds, serve them not too cold. Maybe 60 to 64 Fahrenheit. That's what, 16, 18 Celsius? For the really big, complex ones, maybe even a touch warmer, 64, 68 F or 1820 C.
Okay. And glasses?
A decent-sized glass with a reasonably large bowl lets the aromas open up. For older, structured reds, decanting can help too. Softens tannins, lets it breathe.
Worth doing for the good stuff.
Definitely. And try different vintages if you get the chance. See how it ages. For rosés, chill them well. 4650 F, maybe 810 C. Yeah. A slightly smaller glass than for the reds helps concentrate the fresh aromas.
Great practical advice. Okay, stepping back again. How does Monastrell fit into the bigger picture? The global wine market. Where is it mainly grown?
Spain is number one by far. Huge plantings there. France is significant too, especially Rhone and Provence. And then growing amounts in Australia and the US, like we mentioned.
And who's drinking it? Is it mostly local or international?
Traditionally, quite regional, but that's changing. There's definitely growing appreciation for quality Monastrell internationally. People are discovering it.
What role does it play in those key regions? Is it the star or part of the blend?
Bit of both. In Spain, it's definitely a star in places like Jumilla, Yecla, a flagship grape for those DOs. In France, it's vital in Rhone blends, but the star in Bandol. In the New World, you see both powerful single varietal wines and those important GSM blends.
Shows its adaptability again. So, looking forward, what's the potential? Where could Monastrell go from here?
I think the potential is pretty high, actually.
Right.
First off, climate change. Its heat tolerance is a massive plus.
Good point. A resilient grape for warming times.
And drinkers seem increasingly interested in wines with real structure, complexity, which Monastrell delivers. Its versatility, reds, rosés, blends helps too.
The rosé market is still strong, right?
Yeah, and quality Monastrell rosés are getting more attention. Plus, there's that trend towards exploring indigenous grapes, varieties with a story. Monastrell fits that perfectly.
Are there hurdles, though? Challenges it faces?
Sure. Those tannins need careful management, especially for wines meant to be drunk younger. Adapting to climate shifts isn't always straightforward, maybe finding new, cooler spots eventually.
Competition, too, I imagine.
Always. It's a crowded market, competing with Cabernet, Syrah, Grenache, all the big names. Clear communication is key, telling its story, explaining the different names, highlighting its quality.
Overcoming that name confusion is probably still important.
Definitely. And producers and regional groups have a big role.
Yeah, absolutely vital. Producers need to focus on quality, expressing that terroir. And the associations, promotion, education, maybe setting quality standards to protect the reputation. Collective effort.
Makes sense. Well, this has been quite the deep dive. If we had to boil it down, what are the main things you'd want someone listening to take away about Monastrell?
Okay, key takeaways. 1, it's super adaptable, especially to heat. 2, it has multiple names. Monastrell, Mourvèdre, Mataró, same grape. 3, incredibly versatile, making powerful reds, structured rosés, key blends, even fortifieds. 4, terroir really shapes it. 5, it's got history, but also a really bright future.
Nicely put. You should feel way more clued in now when you see one of those names on a label.
Hopefully. And maybe a final thought to leave you with.
Yep.
Now that you know the story, this grape's journey from Spain to France, Australia, the US, maybe seek out a bottle from a region you haven't tried. A Monastrell from Spain, a Mourvèdre from Bandol, a Mataró from Oz. See if you can taste the place, See how that terroir comes through in this tough, resilient grape. What new side of it might you discover?